Pawan roars, Jagan scoffs. Filmy car ride a taunt to the Andhra Chief Minister. Superstar flashpoint in Andhra is our top focus on 5 Live.
So why did superstar Pawan Kalyan get on top of the roof of a car, cruise down that highway like a film star, breaking many traffic violations and laws of the land, and he's still not in any trouble? What is the politics that Pawan Kalyan is playing, and why is the Jagan Reddy government simply scoffing at him? That's my big focus here on 5 Live. Also, has the Rahul Yatra simply failed to have any impact in the state of Telangana? That and much more coming up on 5 Live. First, the headlines. Supreme Court upholds 10% quota for the poor in 3:2 judgment. Modi government's caste-free quota move upheld. Politics over quota explodes. Congress leader makes shocking comment, calls Supreme Court casteist. Big twist in Liquorgate probe. Manish Sisodia's aide Dinesh Arora says he's ready to turn approver. Says he's ready to provide all information linked to the alleged Liquorgate scam. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to the Delhi Lieutenant Governor, alleges involvement of Chief Minister Kejriwal and Kailash Gehlot, says facing constant threat from Minister Satyendra Jain, who's also in Tihar jail. Anti-hijab protests erupt in Kerala's Kozhikode. Women burn hijab on streets in an Iran-inspired protest. Karnataka Congress Neta goes on a Hindu tirade, says the word Hindu doesn't belong to India, calls the meaning of the word Hindu dirty.
हिंदू शब्द कहाँ से आ गया है? ये हमारा है। हिंदू का जो मीनिंग है वो बहुत गंदी है।
Viewer, the images you're about to see are not from some film set. They are not from some trailer of some upcoming blockbuster movie. These are images from Pawan Kalyan, the superstar actor turned politician's drive towards a part of Guntur in Andhra Pradesh where he wanted to express solidarity with people whose houses had been demolished for the construction of, among other things, this particular road. Accompanied with music, made viral on social media, these images have captured a lot of attention because they really are evocative. He is a film star and this looks like a film trailer of some kind, but the superstar clearly appears to be breaking the law and no action has been taken against him. He's broken the internet while breaking the law. On your screens, the man is Pawan Kalyan. To most in this country, he needs no introduction. He's a superstar actor. He's the brother of superstar actor Chiranjeevi. And here he is on your screens, sitting on the roof of a luxury car, moving at pretty high speed with his security personnel, supporters, cavalcade, dangling on the sides, defying all traffic and road rules as well as safety norms. This video clip, which has gone viral expectedly, is from the Janasena Party's president's visit to the Ippatam village, which is in Andhra Pradesh's Guntur district. The purpose of Pawan Kalyan's visit in this superstar style was to meet locals in Guntur whose houses were reportedly demolished by the Jagan Reddy government for the widening of those roads, the very roads that this superstar politician is cruising down. But as the convoy of Pawan Kalyan reached the village, the police did not allow his car to proceed, and Pawan Kalyan eventually walked on foot to meet the victims of this demolition drive. His protest, sitting on top of a luxury car and cruising down a highway no less, comes against Andhra Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy over the demolition of homes for the widening of those roads in Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh. And it now represents the latest flashpoint between two high-profile individuals. Remember, Pawan Kalyan has been trying to scale up his personal and political profile for many, many weeks now, with many of his antics, many of his events going super viral because of what he chooses to do. So these images have gone super viral locally. On India Today, we noticed them yesterday and we decided we need to give it a little bit of prominence because this is in the state of Andhra Pradesh. This is a superstar actor who is also an influencer, but seen here to be indulging in an act that is violative of the law, even though what he may have been doing may have very much simply been part of politics. So the question we're asking is, politics and imagery and optics and events aside, why hasn't Pawan Kalyan been booked? Isn't this a violation of the law? Nothing has been booked against him. No FIR has been filed. So we're wondering, what is stopping the Jagan Reddy government from taking some kind of action and setting an example? Gudivada Amarnath, who is a senior leader of Jagan Reddy's government, he's Minister for IT and Industries in the state of Andhra Pradesh, joins me live on this story. Minister Amarnath, thank you for your time here on 5 Live. All of us have seen these images of Pawan Kalyan sitting on top of a car. I do not know how many different laws have been violated, sir, in this one viral video. Why hasn't the police booked Pawan Kalyan? What is it waiting for?
See, it's not like we are against what he has done and all. It's like booking the case. We have already ordered our police department to take necessary action regarding the situation, what he has done on the roads. See, it's not a political. He thinks it's a. It's not. It's a cinematic kind of a thing. It's a real life. It's not. It's a real life thing. No, it's not a real life one.
Yeah.
Pawan Kalyan is a person who is into cinema. He is a cinema hero who is into politics right now, and he sees politics as cinema as if it is in cinema. He is sitting on a car, waving or sitting like he is sitting on a chair somewhere in a room. So he's traveling on a highway, national highway. He has his drone on his top, shooting him while he's traveling on the national highway and all. We have already ordered our police department. See, if we book a case against him, they call it as a political vendetta. See, we don't want that to be a politicalized or something like that, but we have already asked our police department.
Minister Amarnath, I understand that, political vendetta, all these things are part and parcel of politics. But as a government, this kind of thing is dangerous. He's an influencer. He has millions of lakhs and millions of followers and supporters and fans, etc. This kind of thing, doesn't it set the wrong example? And by not acting with alacrity, your government seems to give the impression that you're a little scared of taking harsh action because you will be giving him some kind of sympathy factor, which is what he wants.
You see, he is a person who is leading a party in Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah.
He has contested in the election in 2009. He has contested for almost 130 seats out of 175. Yeah. He didn't even win his own seat in Andhra Pradesh. He is the one who won only one seat in the assembly in 2019 election. See, why are we scared of him? We don't need to be scared of that kind of a person. And one more thing is that why did he come into that village on that day? He's just into that village to say that the people who have encroached the roads, the people who have encroached the government lands need to be retained. They don't need to be demolished. We didn't even demolish even one single house in that village. We have just only removed the encroachments which are on the road. So for that, he has come for an politicalized issue. And when we have not given him permission to enter that village. And he said, even if you give me permission or not, I'll go by walk. I'll enter into the village. I'll do this a political thing. He comes out of the village. He sits on top of the car. He comes on the national highway with a drone flying on him. See, any leader in India, we have a lot of political parties, national political parties, we have a lot of regional political parties. We never ever seen there are a lot of cinema heroes who have launched political parties, who have come into power in many situations and all. But we have never seen a political leader or a party leader sitting on top of a car.
But Minister, the thing is it not true that Pawan Kalyan in some ways has, it is fair when you say that, he has not won any seats, etc., and we are not scared of him. But, at the end of the day, anything can happen in politics. But I am asking you, because just a few weeks ago, your leader, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, had responded to some of the things that Pawan Kalyan had said. In fact, to quote Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, he said, some people are coming on television sets, picking up sandals and using filthy words. It is sad to see such a state of affairs and call them leaders. We are witnessing how the adopted son speaks the lines his adopted father gave, obviously in reference to Chandrababu Naidu. Is that what the pain point here is, sir? The fact that Pawan Kalyan is in cahoots with the Telugu Desam Party leader, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, that is what is, the main issue here.
See, there is no doubt that he is an adopted son of Chandrababu Naidu as a political leader. We never called him a political leader, and his party is not a political party. It's a cinema party. It's a movie party. He sees politics as a cinema. So he doesn't want to, he never does serious political actions. He never does political activity. He doesn't have political strategies. He doesn't have political system or an agenda, any political.
So you're saying he's not a threat at all? You're saying he's not a threat at all, sir? Because he seems to have big crowds everywhere he goes.
We are a party with 51% in 2009.
Yeah.
He is a party with just 5% in 2019. So in 2019 we got 51%. He's just 5%. He's just 10% of us. Why do we need to be scared of him?
Okay,
and he doesn't even have. He couldn't even win his own seat. He contested in 2 assembly constituencies in the state, and he couldn't even win even one seat. He contested for 130 seats. He wins only 1 seat. We don't need to be. See, he's just working for Chandrababu Naidu. He wants his political party or his party men who is back of him to support Chandrababu Naidu.
Okay.
He wants the negative vote of the government, anti-incumbency of the government not to be splitted. It has to go to one particular person. That has to go to Chandrababu Naidu. It's his party's policy.
Okay.
So, he is just working for Telugu Desam Party and doesn't have any political policy or agenda for his own political party.
Understood. Okay. Thank you for giving us your time, Minister Amarnath, on the entire Pawan Kalyan viral video. We'll have to see where it goes. We've invited Pawan Kalyan to have his say as well. Today he declined. Perhaps in the next few days you'll see him right here on 5 Live or elsewhere on India Today. We'd like to get you, of course, both sides. I want to bring in Abdul Bashir, my colleague in Hyderabad, who's been tracking both Andhra and Telangana, of course, but he's stationed in Hyderabad right now and watching this story very closely. Abdul, any action? Minister Amarnath says we have asked the police to investigate, etc., etc. The law violation is there on their screen. The government says we are not scared of Pawan Kalyan. He is the adopted son of Chandrababu Naidu. He is no threat to us. Is Pawan Kalyan a threat or is he not a threat?
See, absolutely, Shiv, like you have mentioned, that the police has not yet taken any action. Few minutes ago, I spoke to the SP, Bapatla, who is the concerned officer to this incident. He has denied any action till now. In this incident, it's been 2 days. However, we've seen that Pawan Kalyan, who has been into the news regarding his aggressiveness till now, has come in a filmy style on Saturday. We've seen previously he was aggressive on his statement that was given by the YSRCP, calling him as they have called him as a poster star. For that, Pawan Kalyan has showed his slippers in a party meeting. That was the aggression that he has showed. Then now, when the police has stopped him from entering the Epatam village, he had clearly, we have seen that in a filmy style, he has got onto the car, sitting casually, and then the whole convoy is moving along with the followers. However, he has met the villagers during this protest that he has called for. He has met the villagers. More than 53 houses are said to be raised off in the incident here in the Epatam village. where the sympathizers,
Right, okay.
where now Pawan Kalyan has alleged that this is a vendetta by the state government for his meeting that the villagers have organized in the
Now
march
we've invited Pawan Kalyan. He's refused, at least to be on our channel at this point of time. Hopefully, he'll find some time soon and take our questions as well, because there are some questions that Power Star will need to answer as well. Abdul, thanks very much. Keep tracking that story. We'll keep coming back to you. Now let's shift from Andhra Pradesh to neighboring Telangana, the state that is carved out by a Congress-led government in 2013. But boy, is the Congress having one disaster after another in this state. Despite nearly 15 days of a yatra in Telangana, the Congress has been completely decimated in the high-stakes Munugode bypoll that reached a verdict this weekend. The BJP's emergence as a strong opponent to the ruling TRS in Telangana has pushed the grand old party to a humiliating third place in that constituency, which it won handsomely in 2018. And all this while Rahul Gandhi was in Telangana, even though he says he wasn't campaigning. Take a look. He has spent well over 10 days in Telangana. His yatra, a high-voltage focal point for his party. And yet, in the high-profile Munugode bypoll that reached a result over the weekend, Rahul's Congress was wiped out, with the party's candidate even losing her deposit. This in a seat that the Congress had won handsomely in 2018. The Munugode seat was a fiercely fought victory for the ruling TRS that Rahul, remember, had butted heads with just a few days ago.
Seeing an overwhelming support for the TRS party and the leadership of Honorable KCR Garu, the Munugode election result, which was a high-pitched result where opposition parties were levelling uncalled for allegations on the TRS party, people have rejected all of them.
And despite a narrow defeat, the BJP's performance will be a massive vindication for the Saffron Party, since it firmly displaces the Congress as the opposition. The only contender with nothing to celebrate is the Congress. The party has mounted a staunch defense, blaming money and muscle power for the humiliating verdict. While it's true that Congress leaders repeatedly insist that Rahul's yatra is not linked to any election,
we are a political party. Of course, we have political objectives in mind. But this yatra has been started not just keeping the state elections or the 2024 Lok Sabha elections in mind. It's a yatra to transform the public discourse. It's a yatra to bring the Congress closer to voices on the ground.
But what does it say about the Rahul Sena that the very state in which Rahul Gandhi spent nearly 2 weeks in the run-up has so contemptuously dismissed his candidate? The Munugode disaster was only one of several bypoll debacles for the Congress party over the weekend. Does this mean the National Yatra is having zero resonance locally or nationally? There is no doubt that Rahul's National March is drawing crowds, lighting up social media and making headlines. But is the bypoll verdict an umpteenth wake-up call for the country's oldest party? Bureau Report, India Today. And joining me live now from Telangana, in fact, is Manikam Tagore. He's a Congress Member of Parliament in the Lok Sabha and also the man who is in charge. He is the in charge for the state of Telangana. And therefore, what has happened in Munugode reflects on what the Congress party at large has done as well. But also, he will be questioned for this loss because it is his responsibility in part. But what about Rahul Gandhi and his yatra is the question I want to ask first to Mr. Manikam Tagore. Sir, who do you blame? Right off the bat, I'd like to ask you, who do you blame for this pretty embarrassing defeat in Munugode constituency? It was a constituency which your party had won pretty impressively in 2018, and now it's been reduced to an embarrassing number 3. Your candidate has lost their deposit.
No, Telangana's by-elections for the past 4-5 by-elections in Telangana has been full of misuse of complete government machinery and the power and the money power. Money is being spent in crores, and it's becoming a model of like in Tamil Nadu, when earlier it was called as Tirumangalam formula. It is becoming Telangana is becoming a different kind of formula where money is being spent in crores. Liquor has been used in a much bigger way than expected. Therefore, it is influencing in a very, very big way. And in Mungod also, we were able to see that thing. Hundreds of 200 plus crores, we were being told that 200 plus crores TRS spent for each voter. They gave 5,000 rupees. BJP spent matching it with 150 crores and with 4,000 rupees per vote. And the Congress party, we don't have that money. Therefore, we were not able to, we don't believe in that politics also. Therefore, we are not able to match the money power. The victory is for a note and for money power.
While you do blame money power and resources, etc., Mr. Tagore, what about the fact that, your most popular leader, arguably, Rahul Gandhi, was in Telangana for the last nearly a fortnight, leading, this very high spectacle Bharat Jodo Yatra. I'm sure the people in Munugod would have seen the pictures of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, been able to get the messages that Rahul Gandhi was sending out repeatedly while in Telangana. Did the Yatra have zero impact in Munugod? How can you separate the two things, sir?
No, we have to understand it. By-elections are fought on money and liquor in one part of the Telangana. Mr. Gandhi has been traveling in the northern and the western part of Telangana, and the elections is going on in the southern part of Telangana, the one constituency. Congress party has put up its candidate. We had put the honest candidate, and we had put the candidate is being respected in a very big way. And she has fought earlier also. She's from a traditional Congress family. Therefore, we all thought that Congress parties, the formula of honesty and humble Congress leader be fielded. And around our leaders were, because Bharat Jodo Yatra is in the two parts, as I told to you, there's been traveling, and we had been, all the leaders has been concentrated. We had divided our workforce into, some people has been sent to Mungod and they continued their work, and some of them was in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Bharat Jodo Yatra's main campaign is about brotherhood and affection and injustice towards those people who are in the bottom of the pyramid. Therefore, it is not an election-oriented yatra. It's unfair to compare with the Bharat Jodo or to a by-election. By-election, it is money, liquor, all other kind of things which is being used. Bharat Jodo is it's a completely different method, and we can't compare with both the things, elections, by-election and the yatra.
Mr. Tagore, I respect the fact that the Congress and you repeatedly say that this has the yatra had nothing to do with elections, and I personally think that the yatra is a very good idea, in terms of consolidating, the organization base and sending out a message, etc. But that aside, can you really distance the yatra from electoral results? It's not like voters out there are immune to, the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They're seeing what's happening. It's not like they are looking at Rahul Gandhi's message and saying, no, he is not asking for my vote, so I'm not going to vote for the Congress. So in that sense, was the Yatra, some kind of a distraction for the Telangana Congress, because all your leaders had to go and help Rahul Gandhi on his Yatra, be with him there, attend to the leadership, as it were, on this Yatra, and they, left the campaign empty. Nobody was there to do the real work of winning an election.
No, Yatra is it's a one-time affair for Congress, because the Bharat Jodo Yatra is not going to come back again, because Telangana Congress, it is going to be the historic moment for Congress party in the ground level. Therefore, we all know that the Yatra was decided earlier, After that, the election commission under now election commissioners are becoming the outsourced the agency of the BJP organization itself. So they set the dates for the schedule of Mr. Over the phone call of Mr. Amit Shah only. So they had put these by-elections in the time when we are having our yatra. Our yatra dates has been announced. After that only they announced the assembly elections. And therefore our forces has been diverted, and our majority of workforce was in the yatra only. And we had deputed our senior leaders, few of the senior leaders campaigned vigorously in the by-election seat. But it is the money power which has defeated us. And the BJP candidate who had switched over from Congress party, Mr. Rajgopal Reddy, has been a contractor, and he has got huge contracts of in the coal mining also. It's been reported, and he has also accepted that it is 18,000 crores of the coal mine contracts. He got it from the central government in Jharkhand. So it's all known that this much money has been involved. And we were completely into a different time where we were concentrating on our Bharat Jodo Yatra, because that is lifetime only once it is going to be there for Telangana Congress.
Well, Manikam Tagore, you roll with it. You are a serving member of parliament, so you have your own base. So I can imagine what it's like to be there in Telangana right now during this particular loss. It is your charge, but the collective responsibility of the Congress, hopefully, will be invoked here, and not just your role in this particular defeat. I wish you all the best. I know you're a fine politician, and thank you for joining me here on 5 Live. Thank you, sir. And on the other side, you don't want to miss this, folks, because it's been one of the most viral videos so far this year. And it features a person called Professor Salvatore Babones. He was at the India Today conclave, and the video of his session has become one of the most watched, liked and shared videos of 2022. I'm going to show you a bit of it, and guess what? I've invited him back into the studio because he has lit the internet up like nothing else this year. You'll see why when you come back.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
Black holes. Did you ever worry that Earth could get sucked into one of them? Black holes do have a massive gravitational pull that allows it to swallow anything that gets in its way. Let's find out more about them. Black holes have been lurking in the galaxies for billions of years. The most powerful known forces in the universe, their gravitational field is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape from them. They're actually packed full of space matter, so they're not really holes. There are at least two types of black holes. Stellar mass black holes form when a huge star, more than 10 times bigger than our Sun, burns up all its fuel and collapses in on itself. Scientists say there could be billions in our galaxy, the Milky Way alone. They grow by gobbling up other stars or merging with other black holes to become a supermassive black hole, millions to billions of times bigger than the Sun. Humans can't even see black holes, but we can observe their effect on matter close by. When normal stars are sucked in, they accelerate and heat up, emitting X-rays which are detected by orbiting space telescopes.
Kamal Hassan in a way is the elephant in the room. When you got married to him or when you first started a relationship with him, I remember the film magazine would always brand you as the other woman. And it couldn't have been easy. You left Mumbai, moved to Chennai, gave up your successful film career. On hindsight, any regrets?
Of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not asking you. I'm posing and saying, of course not.
No, not at all. You know, basically, I always say this. If given a chance once, twice, thrice, 4 times also, I would live my life exactly the way I have lived it. Everything is good at a point, Rajdeep. Things go bad later. Otherwise, I would not have got up, left everything and gone. So, no regrets.
Presented by only OLX Autos gives the best price for your car. Co-presented by Macho Hint, Fashion Bade Aaram Se. Powered by Ashirwad Shuddh Chakki Atta, Raho Char Kadam Aage.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
Now, as a viewer of India Today, I'm sure you've already seen this video. And the person I'm about to introduce you to doesn't really need an introduction because his talk at the India Today conclave has become one of the most viewed, shared, liked, talked about video clips so far this year. I haven't seen anything like it. He's a sociologist. His name is Professor Salvatore Babones. And his session at the India Today conclave over the weekend has become such a viral talking point that I thought it would probably be best to first show you what happened at the conclave, and then I've got a little surprise for you on the other side. First, take a look at this clip that's completely lit up social media and the internet.
Are you therefore suggesting that these institutes, most of them based in the Western world, are in a way prejudiced because they allow their ideological biases to influence their better judgment? Are you suggesting that there is this left liberal monopoly in a way over many of these institutes that judge India through the prism of the fact that Narendra Modi, a right-wing nationalist populist leader, is leading India, and thereby tend to, at a way, look at India through the prism of Mr. Modi as the Prime Minister of India?
In a word, no.
In a word, no.
In a word, no. These are not biased organizations that are out to get India. They evaluate democracy in 150 plus countries. Most of the people involved have no particular interest in India. The problem is that all of these rankings are based on surveys. So each of them has the same methodology. They do a survey of intellectuals, journalists, academics who either are based in the country they're studying or who are students of the country from outside. Prominent academics and journalists who cover in India's case, India. It may be people at Harvard, maybe people at JNU, it may be people in the mainstream media. They survey them and they ask them to report back on the country. It's those reports that are biased. Now, at the level of the organization, there's a lack of editorial oversight. I don't excuse that, but I do understand it. If you're exercising editorial oversight about narratives for 150, 170 countries, that's a lot of oversight to exercise. It's a lot of hard work. But fundamentally, these biases don't creep in because the organizations are anti-India. They creep in because, forgive me, India's intellectual class is anti-India. As a class, not as individuals.
No. India's intellectual class is anti-India, or are you saying that they are anti-Mr. Modi and are conflating the two? Or are you conflating the two?
There is a bit of both. They're certainly anti-BJP, anti-Mr. Modi, as a class, not every individual. But...
And what else but to bring Professor Babonis back into the studio, because in the couple of days since that viral session in Mumbai at the India Today conclave, he's gone viral. He's gotten a huge number of messages. He's become something of an internet celebrity here in India. Everyone's talking about him. The clip from the India Today conclave has gone viral on messaging apps, on Facebook Messenger, on WhatsApp. I myself received that same little video clip from as many as 5 or 6 different relatives from different continents around the world. So that's the kind of virality that one little comment, that one little session has achieved. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce back here on India Today, Professor Salvatore Babonis. Sir, really good to see you back here. You know, one of the first things you did after that entire session was you flew to Delhi, and then, for some reason, you flew straight to Khan Market. And you were in that picture, which we've got on our screen, saying, does this make me part of the Khan Market gang? What did you mean by that? That was very cheeky, very tongue-in-cheek. What did you mean by that? You appear to know who you had triggered by your comment about intellectuals.
Look, thank you for having me on the program. And my first thing I did in Delhi was go see India Gate. Yeah. The very second thing was go to the Khan Market. I had to buy books, and everyone told me Bari Sons was the place to buy books, and I bought half a dozen books on Indian democracy. While I was there, of course, I've heard this phrase Khan Market gang repeated endlessly. And the truth is, I wasn't trolling the Khan Market gang. I was trolling my many new followers on Twitter. I appreciate all of you. You've been very kind to me. But when people say, Salvatore, you have to, thank you for taking on the Khan Market gang, I wanted to remind them, I'm a member of this gang. I'm a liberal international intellectual whose first priority in Delhi is to go visit a bookstore. Yeah. So I'm fully part of that gang.
Yeah, I know you've received a lot of rude comments. You know, there have been some sober things that have been said in response to you. The word triggered comes to mind immediately because you trended for a while on that day. Lots of people, have said things like, who is this guy, this white guy who's come in from the outside to lecture us and tell us about our intellectual class? How did you feel when you heard about that? There was one tweet, for instance, from a senior journalist, Madhavan Narayanan, who said, who is Salvatore Babonis? Why is he important? Why should his opinion or perspective matter over mine or yours?
Well, until 2 days ago, I made it a point of pride to answer every single tweet directed at me. For the last 2 days, that's simply been impossible. But many times I've had that comment, who are you? I've simply got that simple phrase, and I've said, look, I'm an academic, a sociologist, a comparative sociologist who is studying Indian democracy in comparison to other countries. I'm not an expert on India, I'm an expert on the rankings. Anyone can look me up. I have a strong publication record. You can read my books. My last book was named Best on Politics 2018 by the Wall Street Journal. That focused on American democracy. And this next book I'm working on now will focus on Indian democracy.
Why do you think people reacted in this manner? Why did people, you think, take it personally? The tweet that I just read out, Professor, that was pretty much similar to how many people reacted. Do you think people took this personally? Who is this guy? Why is he lecturing us?
I don't know how you
found... Or did it just, hit where it hurt?
I don't know how you found the negative tweets because I have been unable to keep up with all of the positive tweets.
The adulation, yeah.
And it's been, look, it's very heartfelt. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Look, it's perfectly reasonable for people to feel, how can someone come in from outside and give us this lecture? After all, I'm writing about people who've come in from outside to give you a lecture on India's democracy rankings. So I'm very aware of that, and I'm very sensitive to the thought that I might be taking sides, so to speak, in Indian politics, when I've just written a paper about the problem of Indian intellectuals using the rankings to fight their own battles here at home. I don't want to be on any side, and I've been gratified that I've received a lot of positive feedback from people on all sides of Indian politics, and not just supporters of the BJP or Narendra Modi. I'm thrilled that I'm talking to you here on India Today, not on a government TV channel, but on a proudly independent TV channel. This is the place where I'd like to be having this discussion.
The fact that you called the intellectual class anti-India, that one line has gone viral, Professor. But the session itself was more nuanced. You took more questions. There were other things that you actually said. Do you think it's unfair that people have just focused on that one line, or do you stand by it and you say that, no, that is what I meant, that's exactly what I stand by?
Oh, I stand by it. India's intellectual class is, I think, at heart, or I can't say at heart, let me say that again. India's intellectual class, in its public persona, is anti-India. In its public persona, in its heart, I'm sure they're very proud patriots. But when they go out into the public arena to talk about India, they're not highlighting, well, they're certainly not highlighting India's accomplishments, but more importantly, when they criticize India, as well they should, it's part of the role of intellectuals to be holding government to account, to be scrutinizing their own society. When they do so, they have not, again, as a class, they have not been doing so fairly and objectively. Instead, I see tons of evidence of intellectuals selectively attempting to present the worst possible picture of India in their international commentary. Now, that is a problem for all Indians, even for India's intellectuals. It's one thing to criticize where criticism is due. It's another thing to try to find a way to criticize even where criticism is not due.
Does it surprise you, Professor, that this criticism, goes as far as to endorse descriptions of India as fascist, as a country that has moved to the extremes as far as right-wing ideology is concerned?
India is routinely described as fascist in the international media, often by Indian intellectuals. Obviously, that's ridiculous. Everyone in India knows that's ridiculous. But people abroad don't know that that's ridiculous. So when my own president, Joe Biden, says that our election tomorrow is a vote on democracy, implying that if people vote against him, that's the end of American democracy, no one takes it seriously. Americans don't take it seriously. Indians don't take it seriously. The world doesn't take that seriously. Everyone knows there will still be an election in America in 2024, 2028. It's going on forever. Foreigners, however, don't know that that's true of India. People abroad are not closely following Indian politics. If all they hear about India is that India is a fascist country or a country on the verge of dictatorship, or that the next election will be the last in India, they're likely to believe it. Why shouldn't they believe it? India's own intellectuals are telling them that that's true.
Is that one of the reasons why stories about the authoritarianism in India, the fact that there is extremism or fascism in India, is much more palatable to the Western press? Newspapers in the United States, voices in the United States. Are you saying that's one of the reasons why intellectuals in India get more traction for their voices to be more heard in the West? Because that's the kind of India that the West wants to see?
No, I don't think Western institutions want to see a negative narrative about India. What they need is an authoritative narrative. Western institutions don't understand India, and so they're looking for authoritative voices.
But why do they use, why do only some kinds of voices, get play in those platforms?
Well, they're using prominent English-speaking intellectuals who have a broad reach overseas, especially people who are involved with United Nations agencies or NGOs abroad, people who are involved with activist organizations, because these people are very engaged in Western debates. They're talking the language of the West in Western forums. Now, I want to emphasize, there's nothing wrong with that. Activists should be activists. That's their role. But they should also be honest. That's also their role. And I see a lot of compromises on that second half.
You talk about this resentment about India's rise, Professor. I want to explore that a little bit. Where does this resentment actually come from? Is it racism? Is it colonialism? Is it Orientalism? Is it a mix of all of these things? What is it? What do you put it down to? Because the people you've been talking about, who you describe as intellectuals, are very much part of that conversation.
We've seen the pattern in country after country, not just in India, that intellectuals want someone to speak for. Whether that's Marxists who want to speak for the workers, whether that's well-meaning activists who want to speak for the poor, whether that's religious reformers who want to speak for downtrodden religions, they want someone they can speak for. Well, if people can speak for themselves, that's a threat to the intellectuals who want to speak for them. A resurgent India, an India that's growing very rapidly, where people have found their own voice, where Indians are very capable and ready to speak for themselves, not just elite Indians, but ordinary Indians, Indians who don't speak English. Indians are more and more confident to give their own point of view, not only to the government, but to the media and to the West. The internet enables that. They can do it on social media. They can do it on blogs. They can get out there in the world. Well, that disintermediates the intellectuals who are keen to have someone to speak for. After all, if all you are is one person as an intellectual, you're not speaking for anyone, what kind of voice do you have? Very little. But if you claim to speak for an entire class of supposedly downtrodden people, that gives you some kind of moral authority. And that's also, I think, very self-indulgent. That is, intellectuals who, instead of wanting to pull back and let people speak for themselves, instead want to put themselves forward as the spokespeople for those downtrodden.
There's a great deal of my word is the last word. There's a great deal of cancel culture. I personally believe that liberalism is a rarity in India, and those who describe themselves as liberals in this country actually really aren't liberals. But speaking about that self-indulgent aspect, and there are many tweets. I'm going to put some of those tweets on our screen. We've got some from prominent persons, Shekhar Gupta and others, which we'll put on our screens for a moment for our viewers to read. But my question to you, Professor, also, while also acknowledging those tweets, and maybe if you want to respond to them, is what does that self-indulgence go down to? Is it about ideology? Does it go, even closer to a person's personal views about Modi? Because, if you boil it all away, many people believe that all of this boils down to a person's sort of hostility towards Modi and his politics. Is it that simple?
I don't think it's that simple, because I think if Mr. Modi were gone tomorrow and someone else replaced him, it would be the same story. Intellectuals in general are very wary of democracy. My colleagues, I'm a sociologist, my colleagues in political science are always talking about the threat of quote-unquote mere electoral democracy or mere majoritarian democracy, as if the electoral voice of the majority were somehow inherently anti-democratic. Now, many intellectuals feel that way because democracy is threatening to intellectuals. I often put the exercise to my own social policy students. Would you rather live in a democratic country or in a country that had the policies you prefer? I would say roughly 2 to 1, elite Western students would rather live in a country where their own preferred policy is implemented than to live in a country that's a democracy. And this is, of course, why China, for example, has been very popular among Western academics, because they admire the Chinese Communist Party's so-called meritocracy, because the Chinese Communist Party puts on a pedestal intellectuals who want to have a direct say in how a country is run without having to worry about convincing people that they're right. Democracy is all about the people. The people are sovereign in a democracy, and sometimes they'll want policies that intellectuals find very unpalatable.
One of the fault lines, Professor, in the global conversation about India, thanks in large part to some of these intellectuals you talk about, is the Hindu-Muslim issue.
Of course.
Where India is frequently portrayed as oppressive to minorities, to Muslims in particular. You did talk about this a little bit in your conclave session. I wanted to explore that a little bit more.
Sure.
Is this something that, again, that's sort of easy to process for, as far as a Western narrative and perspective is concerned, that India is oppressive and is antagonistic towards Muslims and minorities in general? Is that just an easier story to sell as far as India is concerned, and that's why it's easy to demonize India in this manner?
It is an easy story that is ripe for facile analysis.
Yeah.
When you dig a little deeper, you find, of course, as always, a much more nuanced picture. So in the Pew Global Research Center, in its surveys, Pew is the best survey research organization in the world. It's the platinum standard for survey research. They found that in 2019, 19% of India's Muslims voted for Narendra Modi and the BJP. Now, that's in a country where only 49% of Hindus voted for Narendra Modi and the BJP. So the Muslim vote share, while well behind the Hindu vote share, was still very substantial. Now, let me put that in context. Fewer than 10% of African Americans vote Republican. The Republican Party in the U.S. is not racist, whatever you might hear on television. It's just that the African American population is what you might call a vote bank for the Democratic Party. Well, Muslims are less of an anti-BJP vote bank in India than African Americans are in the U.S. Is there social exclusion of Muslims in India? Certainly, there seems to be social exclusion. But everybody I talk to in India, whether they're aligned with the BJP or they're aligned with Congress or with another opposition party, everybody wants to see the social exclusion of Muslims reduced. I haven't met anybody in India, I haven't read any well-published, I haven't met any prominent Indian writer who advocates for greater social exclusion of Muslims. Now, we all have different ideas of what is the best way to improve social inclusion. Should it be through special policies that identify members of a minority and promote them, affirmative action, as we call it in the US? Or should it be through completely blind uniform civil code and uniform institutions that make no distinction between people of different religions? Those are two different approaches, but they're both, and I stress this, they are both fundamentally liberal approaches to a problem that everyone agrees should be solved.
Two more questions, Professor. One, when you spoke about the intellectual class and called them anti-India in your conclave session, it was taken to mean that the intellectual class after 2014, after Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister. Is that what you meant? And if you did, what exactly changed? How could things change so suddenly? It is, after all, the same intellectual class.
The intellectual class has been consistently, and here I want to stress the class, not every individual, but as a class, Indian intellectuals have consistently romanticized a poor India in which they are the people who speak for the country. Now, that image is inconsistent with the 21st century modernization of India. It's long gone. It's long gone, but people still cling to it. Now, obviously, the victory of an OBC prime minister from an overtly nationalistic party who does not use English as his main language of communication, that is a very emphatic threat to the primacy of an intellectual class. But what we see in Mr. Modi, and this, again, I speak as an outsider, what I see in Mr. Modi is someone who doesn't speak Hindi, who can't listen to his speeches, who's not spellbound by his rhetoric. What I see in Mr. Modi is an organic member of what would have once been the Indian masses, who is now speaking for himself. Not speaking for the people as some kind of outside force. He is speaking as one of the people who's been successful. That's very threatening to intellectuals, and not only to Indian intellectuals, to any intellectuals. We've seen the same phenomenon in the United States. The famous Hillary Clinton basket of deplorables speech. This kind of dismissing of ordinary people's ability to speak for themselves. Now, Indian intellectuals were always going to come under threat as India modernized, as India developed. The new India was always going to be a challenge to India's intellectual establishment. But the personality of Narendra Modi, or here in Uttar Pradesh, the personality of Yogi Adityanath, these are affronting to the intellectual class. They're not merely a challenge, like maybe Prime Minister Vajpayee was a challenge to the primacy of the intellectual class. This is a very in-your-face challenge, and I'm not surprised that they have that it has brought them to a new pitch, a new fever pitch of anger about their loss of their place in society.
fever pitch about their loss of their place in society. Those are strong words, but, you know, if what you said at the conclave was anything, then we wouldn't expect anything less. Professor Salvatore Babonis, it's been a pleasure. Indian intellectuals were triggered over the weekend. Now they've got a lot more to chew on. I hope they get to, and not just intellectuals, but everyone gets to look past just those little viral clips and watches the entire session, watches this entire conversation, because clearly there's much more nuance to what you've just heard. Professor, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with me here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And coming up next, 6 p.m. Prime with Akshita. Politics explodes over the Supreme Court's 10% economic weaker section quota, a flagship move of the Modi government to benefit the poor. Akshita breaks it down after this break.
India's Oscar entry film Chalo Show revolves around a young boy and his intense love for cinema. One of the boys who played a very crucial role in the film, Rahul Kohli, who essayed that role to real perfection, unfortunately has passed away. Rahul was fighting leukemia for the last few years but managed to beat the cancer complications all through the film's shoot. His father, who's an auto rickshaw driver, broke down while confirming the news. He said that Rahul was doing okay until the morning of October 2nd. He had fever and soon after eating his breakfast, he repeatedly vomited blood. He was rushed to the hospital but unfortunately was declared dead. Rahul Kohli comes from a humble family. He was very eager to watch this film release, Chalo Show. In fact, Rahul's father even sold his auto rickshaw to treat his son's cancer. But once the filmmakers of Chalo Show heard about this, they even bought him a new auto rickshaw. Rahul's parents say that he was keenly awaiting the release of the film and was very sure that the family's fortunes would change after the film's release. But alas, the crew of Film Chalo Show, who was with Rahul all through the time he was at the hospital beating cancer, have broken down ever since. The movie is now India's official entry into the Oscars, representing the country in the Best International Film category. Rahul's family and his entire village are now going to be watching the film in a special screening, Chalo Show, all seated together as an ode to this young boy. We're only hoping that the film would win at the Oscars. That will be a true ode to Rahul Kohli. His dreams surely will live on.
Powered by only OLX Autos gives the best price for your car. Co-powered by Buy, Sell, Rent on 99acres.com. In association with LIC, हर पल आपके साथ. LG OLED, the one and only. Smart Bazaar, India's new Bachat Bazaar. Mutual funds सही है.
Caste neutral quota for the first time. Poor in the general category can now get quota. Modi government's social justice move upheld. It's the biggest move for Garib empowerment.
सामान्य श्रेणी के गरीब युवाओं को शिक्षा और सरकारी सेवाओं में 10% आरक्षण नए भारत के आत्मविश्वास को और बढ़ाने वाला है.
But opposition wants only caste quota. Congress Neta calls Supreme Court judges casteist.
It's not that mindset of the Supreme Court judges. It's upper caste mentality.
DMK condemns SC verdict. Garib ka quota is our top focus on 6 PM Prime.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us live here on 6 PM Prime. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. This Monday evening, we're focusing on the big story that came in from the Supreme Court as the top court in a 3-2 judgment upheld the economically weaker section quota, the pro-poor quota. Some opposition parties are questioning this. You have a Congress leader, Udit Raj, calling the Supreme Court judges who ruled in favor of EWS quota as casteist. The DMK, the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, is saying that this is a setback in the centuries-old fight for social justice. We're going to be talking about this as a DMK MP also joins us this evening on 6 PM Prime to explain why the party is against this quota that empowers the poor in this country. That's our top focus. Here are the headlines. Big twist in Liquorgate probe. Manish Sisodia's aide Dinesh Arora says he's ready to turn approver, says he's also ready to provide all information linked to the alleged scam. Conman Sukesh writes another letter to Delhi Lieutenant Governor, alleges involvement of Kejriwal and Kailash Gehlot, says facing constant threats from Satyendra Jain.